Welcome, dear brothers and sisters, to the studio of the Sabbath School Department by the General Conference. With the help of the Lord, we have the next Sabbath School lesson for you. And this time we are going to have a lesson related to Jesus Christ, but not in front of the Sanhedrin, but in front of the Roman governor. And there are two lessons that are talking about this issue. And the first one is about the governor, and it's about the introduction of that court that have been done against our Lord Jesus Christ. Before we go and study our lessons with details, we wish to invite the presence of the Lord among us with a silent prayer. Join us, please. Let's have a short overview about the structure of the lesson, and here is the lesson in front of us. We have the introduction testimony, which is very nice, from the Seventh-day Adventist commentary, but this is actually writings of Sister White. Don't be confused seeing Seventh-day Adventist commentary. It is also the manuscript when it is written and the year when Sister White wrote it. Then we have the first and the title, From One Court to Another. And the situation develops and continues, the judgment upon Jesus Christ and his condemnation, a preparation of his final sacrifice. And this lesson is discovering an incredible patience that Jesus Christ actually have, not only with his persecutors and accusers, which are the Jewish people, but here we see also with the Roman judge or Pilate and his interactions and in the situation. And we're going to see how also Jesus witnessed in front of the unbelievers or the non-Jewish people involved to that court. Then we have another in the title, which is addressing the accused, and this is the conversations. The Pilate is asking Jesus. He's trying to get some reason of delivering him and freeing him, and we see that it doesn't work according to his plan. And he is the last questions, quiet as a lamb, that actually again fulfill a prophecy related to Jesus Christ, but also the character of our Lord. It's very important that the lesson is well balanced in the time, because it's very easy that we concentrate only in the central point, where is the practical judgment and the conversation between Pilate and Jesus, and all the intrigues related to it. But we should try also to apply this Sabbath School lesson to our time. What will happen if we will be judged and we have to go to court to defend ourselves or to defend the truth? What will be the position we should take it? This kind of questions we should ask ourselves and also our participants in the Sabbath School lesson. But now let's have a detailed analysis on every question, as long as the time permits us. And we're together with our dear sister Raquel, and we will enjoy her comments as well. The first question is, after condemning and binding Jesus, where did the chief priests and elders take him? As a continuation of the previous lesson, we have in the previous lesson actually three judgments. Annas was the first one, Caiaphas was the second one, and next day in the morning they again gathered the court and again condemned Jesus. Now it is brought to another place. What happened and how the story continued, Raquel?
The Jewish leader wanted so quickly as possible to bring Jesus to an end. So they follow quickly all the procedure, even in the illegal ways. So when the majority of the Jewish leaders agree that Jesus is worthy to receive the the capital sentence, death sentence, they needed to be ratified by the Roman authority, because this kind of sentences was only allowed to the Roman authority, to the governor, to be confirmed. And this is the reason why they wanted to proceed with the next step. And they brought very early in the morning to the governor's house, and Pilate was the representative of the Roman Empire in the province of Judea. And this is the reason why they approached him to find a quickly and expedite procedure for death sentence upon Jesus.
Thank you very much, Raquel. It's interesting when we consider here the first testimony. In the judgment hall of Pilate, the Roman governor stands bound as a prisoner. And furthermore, we can see that when Pilate looked at Jesus, he immediately understood that this man is not a common man. It's not like the other criminals that have been brought in front of him. And he was so impressed by the noble appearance of him that he immediately looked for a case how to dismiss the accusations against Jesus. And when Pilate saw the innocent one, what did he ask Jesus' accusers? Let's see the second question, what it says here, what we understand by the Bible verses.
It's very interesting to find out that they expected that only because they decided and they believed so, Pilate needed blindly to confirm what they already wanted to do. So Pilate confronted them with a very simple question: what accusation bring ye against this man? So that was a very simple procedure, at least to know what kind of crime he have committed. And that was extremely important, because even if he was a pagan and was not any religious authority, still he respect the minimum legal elements in the rights of every human being. And this make a contrast between the two different approach to the situation. Their own people, the higher authority in religious matter, declared Jesus guilty and pronounced upon him the death sentence because of blasphemy. And the priests and scribes didn't mention since the beginning this kind of accusation to Pilate, because he will find ridiculous this kind of accusation to be even handled by a civil authority as he was. That is the reason why Pilate needed to ask for a reason to condemn this man. And we will see in the next question how this developed.
Thank you very much, Raquel. Actually, if we are called one day to answer for our faith, for our conviction and religious conviction, the most important in this case is that we really have the holy appearance, that we have the our face, our straight way of looking, our speaking have to be based on honesty and exactitude, so that the judge that see us, that he have the possibility to understand that we are not criminals. Even if you see the Christian life and the primitive Christian church, all Christians almost were accused in a wrongdoing, in criminal actions. They were accused that they burn Rome. They were accused to be criminals, to be thieves, and they were brought to a judgment absolutely innocently. And because they have this innocent appearance, because they didn't fight on the arenas against animals, because they have this prayer position in front of the in the amphitheaters, their behavior and their outlook convinced the people, the public, that they're innocent, and many people were converted in Christianity because they observed this innocent, this Christ-like behavior. How are we cannot imitate this Christ-like behavior? Obviously, this is only possible if we have the Spirit of God with us, if we have the divine nature in us, if we really live the life now according to our convictions and understanding. Then in time of crisis we will not be surprised, but we will be ready. Let's see what happened and how the story continues. Question number 3. What did the Jewish accusers, what did the Jewish accusers answers to the Roman governor? How did they try to manipulate their situation?
They knew since the beginning that this accusation of blasphemy was ridiculous in front of a Roman governor, so they tried to avoid a direct answer to the question. So what they answered was, if he were not a malefactor, we will not have delivered him up unto thee. So they use an indirect answer and try to legitimate the authority to lead Pilate to accept that what they say is right, and that they have investigated the case and they believe that he is worthy the death. So, and that is interesting because evidences were not available for any of these things that they tried to accuse him. So this is a corruptive way to discern reality, especially when not enough proofs are available, to try that people believe because they have the authority, and the authority or the power make them honest or legitimate what they say. And we know that in this specific case was exactly the opposite.
Thank you very much. It's obviously that right from the beginning, the Pharisees and the Sanhedrin, they were trying to manipulate the situation and bring, if possible, successful their judgment. However, they knew, as you just mentioned, that there is no reason of death sentence. Either the Jewish law, neither the Roman law will sentence somebody into death because of the teachings that he had. They didn't contradict in any way the scriptures. That's why they tried to manipulate. And the first manipulation they apply here was to hide the real reason why Jesus was supposed to be put into death. And as you just mentioned, they tried to put their authority as the proof of everything. If he is not malefactor, why shall we deliver it to you? They tried to fool Pilate. They tried to deceive him. And this deceitful strategy, we're going to see that follow actually the story and the conversation with Pilate. And we are going to see how more difficult the things begin to be, or more difficult Pilate makes to them to condemn him, more they sink into the lie and deception and false witnesses and terrible satanic practices to condemn the innocent one. And it's very important that we watch that and we remember that, because it's possible that sometimes by the desire to defend something we believe is the right things, we can run like the Pharisees, actually using unpermitted tools like a lie, deception, and manipulation. But let's see how the story developed in question number 4. Did his convince Pilate that the accused was guilty? Was that sufficient for Pilate to receive from the high priest, oh well, he's guilty because we say so?
Pilate was a politician, and so far he was also dealing with corruption, and for him was not something new, and he was very free according to his conscience, but he never tried to be a religious leader or defend any religious values or principles. But still, if we continue to compare both behaviors, Pilate's way of dealing with this case was very objective and very harmonious with the legal procedure of the time. And then he answered to them, "Take ye him and judge him according to your law." Because with other words, as the note say, if your judgment is sufficient, he say, why bring the prisoner to me? Take him and judge him according to your law. Okay, if you are already convinced that he is guilty, okay, then perform the sentence. But it's very interesting here that Pilate never get the impression that he need to be executed. So he never played with the thought according to the appearance and the behavior of Jesus and this first impression that the Jews wanted to condemn them to death, because he never received this impression from Jesus that he was a criminal. So the Jews needed to be more specific and explain to him it is not lawful for us to put any man to death. So they became very clear that they wanted that Pilate pronounce the death sentence upon Jesus. And they were not allowed, according to Roman regulations, to do so. This is the reason why they appealed to Pilate to do that. And even if Pilate, and they knew, was a very crooked man, he never thought that they went so far according to the impression that Jesus gave to him.
Thank you very much. It's interesting that Pilate is convinced Jesus is innocent. He wants to avoid the responsibility to judge him, and much less to condemn him to death, because he knew that he is innocent. And he's using different tricks and also manipulation, similar way as the Pharisees are doing, so that he can be free from his responsibility. Pilate, if he is a man straight into the righteousness, he could use the Roman law, and the Roman law in the judgment is actually the foundation of all kind of modern law and judgments. It's a very well perfected way of a righteous distribution of hearing of witnesses and accusers and defenders, and it's not much different today in all the Western world. And he could use this system and just declare Jesus innocent and send him home and free him. But here is against the political manipulation, the pressure of influence, and because the leaders of Israel, spiritual leaders, he wants to please them also, because otherwise it's difficult to govern that place. And he's trying to avoid the responsibility to judge Jesus. That's why he sent him back to them and say, you judge them according to your law. However, the Jewish people, they also are so crooked and they are so manipulative, and they are trying to get their way the things. And now it's the question number 5. When the Jews saw that they could not obtain the death sentence without a judicial action, what false accusers did they begin to make, or false accusations? This is terrible questions and terrible events. We see how the spiritual leaders are falling so low in their actions and their form of dealing. What did they do, Raquel, in this case? What the Bible says about?
They were ready if this situation will come, so they presented 3 main accusations against Jesus that, according to their understanding, will impact the mind of Pilate and make him willing to collaborate with them to achieve the death sentence. So the first one is perversion of the nation. The second is acting against the tribute to Caesar. And the third one is to declare himself king. So these 3 elements are extremely important. The first one have to do with immoral behavior and revolutionary actions. The second have to do with the economic financiation of the Roman Empire. The Judah province needed to pay specific taxes, tribute to Caesar, and that was extremely important during the Roman dominion in Judah and in all the provinces of the Roman Empire. And to do that was an act of insubordination, and needed to be destroyed, this kind of conspiracy or revolution, immediately. And the third one was a clear opposition to the Roman government if he declared himself king. So related with revolution, political revolution, power dominion, and financial issues, these 3 elements were presented in front of Pilate through false accusations in order to bring to the death sentence the final charge of Pilate.
Thank you very much. We see that terrible are the accusations that are presented, and they are false accusations. They tried to present some false accusations in their courts when Caiaphas was doing it. However, the witnesses began to contradict each other, and the false accusations fall apart. Now, in this case, Pilate listened to these witnesses, these false witnesses. He still is not convinced. He is actually, we can see that he is not looking for the case of condemning Christ, but he's looking for the possibility of freeing him. And right away in the next questions, we see that following the Romans judgment procedure, now Pilate is giving the words to Christ, and he's asking him what will he answer in his defense. And what happened here when Pilate asked Jesus? What is the answer of Jesus in this case?
Pilate knew very well people. As a politician, he knew that the art to convince, to know, and manipulate people is a skill to achieve power. So the first impression when he saw Jesus never gave him the idea that he was a criminal. And he was very wise to define people, and he was right also. But after these accusations and the insistence of the Jewish leaders in comparing the behavior of Jesus, he was very much surprised about this special situation. So he tried to speak with Jesus. He tried to know him better because he was confused. For him was clear that very evil thoughts in absolutely corrupt way is how the priest presented this case to him. And Jesus was a very amazing character to him. The way how he behaved, his external appearance, the expression of his face. He was extremely impressed with Jesus and wanted to have this conversation. So he asked him, "Art thou the king of the Jews?" And this was a capital question, extremely important because was connected with one of the accusations that he received from the priest. And this will be an issue of a conspiracy against the authority of the Roman Empire. So Jesus answered to him, because Jesus was completely silent during all this period of time in front of all the accusation of the priest. And he answered to him, "Thou sayest." And that was even more interesting for Pilate. We will see that, because he didn't say, "I am," but he said, "You say it." So Jesus acted with extreme wisdom and with a heavenly touch the heart of this very immoral and corrupt authority of the Roman Empire, but still very sensitive toward purity and toward Jesus. So he feel how Jesus communicated this serenity, this peace, this fairness, and this is the reason why he tried to have this personal contact with him.
Thank you very much. We see once again how big impact have our appearance, our behavior, our way how we behave without speaking. And that is what happened here with Jesus. He is actually presenting his message without speaking, without saying almost anything. And this is very important if we consider what will happen if we are in the place of Jesus, if we are endangered, if we are accused, if we're put into the judges. They will very much decide based on what is our appearance, what's our behavior. And that's what happened here. It says the testimony here, Pilate was convinced that a deep plot have been laid to destroy the innocent man who stood in the way of the Jewish dignitaries. So without words, without defending himself, without explaining anything, Pilate knew. First, because the Lord could make him know, and second, because he had the experience as Raquel just mentioned. Now, what happened with the questions and with the answer? Then so Jesus actually not only says you says it, but he indicate you knows it. You know that I'm innocent. You know who am I. You have the possibility to know more and to investigate and to take the things in your hands. And this makes actually Pilate even more afraid what to do and how to handle this case. There is not all the information here, but let's say there is a Bible verse indicated that his wife, the wife of Pilate, had dreams, and she told him, you know, I suffer very much because of that innocent man. So he is warned from the Lord that this is going to happen, and he's also very careful. But let's see in the question number 7, the last question of this lesson, what can we learn again from this silent character of our Lord Jesus Christ, and how he reacted when he was accused and falsely accused by the high priest, and he's once again in front of the Roman judgment, and we know that how dangerous that is. It's a question of life and death.
The dignity of his position, the serenity of his appearance, the peaceful attitude that Jesus had during this process of continuously false accusations against him impressed Pilate in such a way that again he addressed him a second question and say, answers thou nothing? But Jesus still remained silent. So Pilate was wondering. That is something so impressive, the contrast between the ones that accuse Jesus of to be an evildoer and the way how they behave, the hatred that they express show exactly the opposite, that the evildoers were the ones that accuse, and the innocent one and the pure one and the fair one is Jesus Christ. So Pilate was marveling this contrast of people. One group theoretically the pure ones and the good ones, the religious leaders of the nation, and from the other side a man accused of criminal acts, but have a dignity and a spiritual awareness that prove exactly the opposite without words, and impress into the deepness of Pilate's conscience. Only through observation and character study.
Well, we understand that actually Jesus didn't answer because also he knew that Pilate knows that this is a plot, that this is a trick, that this is a false accusations. How could they say that this man make himself king if he have no power? They have arrested him like a simple man. This is, everything looks to be absolutely a lie. And if he really will be a king, he will have an army, he will have people defending him, he will have people that shout and cry outside of the temple, of the court building, but nothing like that's happened. So Jesus did not waste his words, makes no sense. And he knows also where everything is headed to, and he don't try to avoid any of it. And this is something very important to all of us, because one day, let's say a Sunday law will come up, or one day maybe the church will be questioned. It's very important when we are before authorities that we intend to do everything possible not to try to deliver ourselves, but to present the truth, to present the character of God, because this is a powerful testimony. Exactly when we are in difficulties, when we are in distress, there is where we can really witness, there is where we can really show what the character of Christ is, what the powerful testimony, and which opportunity we could have to give this power testimony in front of people and judges and in front of authorities, civil authorities. Dear brothers and sisters, this lesson is wonderful, and I hope we all learn from it. The character of Christ, his meekness and his serenity, his wisdom and also his calmness was the best testimony, stronger than any words. And the judge, without hearing any witnesses defending him, the judge turned to his defendant just because he was convinced by the good behavior of Christ. May the Lord be with you, so that we all can obtain this character of God, and we all can give a similar testimonies if it is requested by the circumstances and by the Lord. Amen.
Amen.